It is often said that history repeats itself, first as tragedy, then as farce. But today, we are witnessing history repeat itself as a calculated military precision strike. Just as the United States removed Manuel Noriega from Panama in 1989, we have woken up to a world where the Monroe Doctrine has been reasserted with shocking force. Welcome to Polinomics World. Today is January 4th, 2026. In a move that has shattered 35 years of diplomatic precedent, U.S. Delta Force operatives have extracted Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, from Caracas and transported them into American custody. This is not a rumor. This is not a drill. At 4:21 a.m., Donald Trump confirmed via Truth Social that the socialist leader is now aboard a U.S. warship bound for New York to face justice. The question we must answer today is not just how this happened, but who orchestrated it from the shadows, and what becomes of the world's largest oil reserve. Let us examine the mechanics of this dawn raid. The operation, codenamed Southern Spear, began with what witnesses described as the sound of low-altitude thunder over the presidential palace. 7 distinct explosions rocked the perimeter of Miraflores Palace, effectively blinding the local defenses. Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino initially took to the airwaves, decrying an imperialist invasion, but his transmission was cut short. We now know that elite operators from the U.S. Army's Delta Force, the same unit responsible for the raid on ISIS leader al-Baghdadi, conducted a surgical extraction. No widespread casualties, no prolonged urban warfare, just a ghost operation. Why now? The pieces have been moving on the board since August 2025. Under the guise of enhanced counter-narcotics operations, the U.S. Navy had quietly positioned a massive armada in the Caribbean. They were not just watching the water, they were waiting for the signal. But to understand the why, we must look beyond the White House to the private sector. The legal framework was laid in 2020 when the Department of Justice indicted Maduro for narco-terrorism, placing a $15 million bounty on his head. But the architect of today's reality is likely Erik Prince. Prince, the founder of Blackwater, has spent the last year championing a movement called Casi Venezuela. We are almost there, Venezuela. He argued that raising the bounty to $100 million would cause the regime to crumble from within. While today's operation was executed by the uniformed military, the intelligence network that made it possible bears the fingerprints of private contractors and deep lobbying. Attorney General Pam Bondi has already declared that the Maduro crime family will face American justice. This is the weaponization of the judiciary on a geopolitical scale. It sends a chilling message to every adversary of the United States. Sovereignty is no longer a shield if you are deemed a threat to the hemisphere. Now, let us turn to the Polinomics of the situation, the intersection of power and profit. Venezuela sits atop the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, over 300 billion barrels. For decades, this ocean of black gold has been locked away by socialism, corruption, and crushing sanctions. Donald Trump has never been subtle about his view that Venezuela is, effectively, America's gas station. With Maduro gone, the path is cleared for giants like Chevron and ExxonMobil to re-enter the Orinoco Belt without legal peril. The immediate reaction in the markets will be volatility, followed by a potential crash in crude prices. If Venezuelan supply floods the market, it undermines the power of OPEC, it hurts Russia's war chest, and it directly benefits the American consumer at the pump. This was not just a military raid, it was a hostile corporate takeover of a national economy. The geopolitical fault lines are already rupturing. The world is splitting into 2 camps. In Moscow and Tehran, there is fury. The Russian Foreign Ministry has called this an act of war against a sovereign state. Remember, Russia has billions sunk into Venezuela's military and energy infrastructure. They have just lost their primary foothold in the Americas. Conversely, in Buenos Aires, President Javier Milei is celebrating. His tweet, "Long live freedom, damn it," echoes the sentiment of the anti-socialist bloc in Latin America. But the danger is far from over. Maduro may be in chains, but his colectivos, armed paramilitaries, roam the streets. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez has declared a state of external disturbance. We are standing on the precipice of a civil war that could turn Venezuela into the Libya of Latin America.